Hey Jackie, it's Brenda. I'm going to go through your website. Oops, quickly. That's not the version I want, though. I want the unzipped version. There we go. So you do have your 3 pages that are named correctly, and your images folder, they all are here, so that's awesome. I noticed when I looked at your index page, oops, oh, I did not mean to do that. Do not want to launch it in the Internet Explorer. I want to launch it in Chrome. I noticed we've got a picture here. The one thing that I noticed is, this address up here, that's typically not at the top of the page. That's down in the footer usually. And then you kind of have an image with each navigation item, which is also not real typical. Usually we just have the navigation at the top, and then, on your home page, you can have this, and your about, you can have that or whatever. And then inline images like this don't quite look right because of the spacing issues that they present, but I'm really happy with the pictures you found and how you got them all to work. So let's start with your index page and take a peek top to bottom. The first thing I always do is click on the HTML and make sure that it closed. And then I click on the next option, which is the head, open and close, title open and close, and the meta, so that's great. Then you have a div that closes, but it doesn't have any name. So you can't do anything to CSS with this because it doesn't have any ID. Here you do have a div that's a header. So what I'm going to suggest is that you just get rid of this one completely. I'm going to back down here a little bit. But what you're missing, I'm sorry, after the head closes, that's the stuff that the search engine looks for. You don't have your opening body tag. I do see at the bottom you close the body, but when I click on it down here, it doesn't light up, which means you never had an opening one. So right after the head, the stuff that the search engines see, you need your opening body tag. Now, everything between the body tags will be what shows up on your page, so that's correct. Then you're going to have a div that you're going to identify as header, so later you can stylize your header. You're telling it to be an H1, which is big and bold by default, so this strong is actually redundant. H1s are always the largest type size and bold, so I'm just going to wipe out this because it's really not necessary. It's completely redundant. And then you have a break, which is great. And then on the next line down, and I'm just going to push this down for clarity's sake, you have a header 2. I'm going to push that over here again. And the header 2 opens and closes. And that's perfect. And then your header div closes. So that's perfect. So now when you go to stylize with CSS, if you tell the header to be a blue background and white type, these two things are going to behave that way because they're inside of your header. Then you start with a paragraph, and inside that you have an image, and there's your picture, and the alt tag is perfect. And then you have a break, so you force a line down, which that's fine. And your address, and then the ending paragraph tag. That's all fine, but I would think that this stuff would be probably, well, we'll just leave it there. It doesn't matter. But what we do need to talk about is after you closed out a header, what's the next thing that comes along? The next thing that comes along is usually a div called your body content. And this is, whoops, div ID equals body content. And that's usually what changes page to page. And then we'll go ahead. Oh, I'm confused. We have your header up here. What's next is navigation. See, I'm really confused. I would not put this image and address up in your header. But I'm now going backwards on what I'm thinking. That certainly does show up. It's just usually spaced out differently, and we haven't learned about that yet. So let's go ahead and do that. That was your intent. So let's put all of this. I'm going to cut it, and I am going to put it in your header. So, dun, 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 dun. So in your header, I'm just pushing things over for cleanliness. In your header, you have an H1, an H2. You don't need this break because after heading 1 closes, it automatically goes down a line. A heading 2 that closes, and then you have a paragraph that has an image, a break, and then your address, and that is your header. Then what usually comes next is your navigation. So as you have it, this is your navigation, and I'm going to pull that up, Control X. That is usually next after your header. So inside your navigation, you have a paragraph. And inside that paragraph, you have an unordered list. I'm just going to push things over here so it looks a little bit better. This is just easier for me to read. It's not that it's wrong by any means. So here's your paragraph. Here's where it closes. Here's your unordered list. Remember, they should close in the opposite order that they opened. So this unordered list down here should close before paragraph. So I'll back that up, and I'll back that one over. Again, this is just visual, it doesn't matter, but here's your paragraph. Inside it, you have an unordered list that opens and closes, and then within that, you have 3 list items that all close out. With that, you have the word home referencing your index page, which is great, and then you have an image, and it's not that that's wrong, it's just you normally see all of your navigation options in a row without images in the way. So I would maybe consider moving this image down into the body content or something like that. I would get these out of your navigation. I would just have list item, list item, list item, and again, get those photos elsewhere. Your unordered list closes and your paragraph closes. And that is the end of your, whoops, here's a spare paragraph that we don't need. And that then is the end of your navigation div. So that's perfect. Then you go into the body content. And I think maybe you thought about doing that here with the word div, but you never gave it an ID. So I'm just gonna get rid of that. I'm gonna get rid of this closing tag. We'll have to put it after all of this. So in your body content, the first thing you have needs to be something. So we're going to make it a paragraph. I assume that's what you want it to be. Your March specials are this, and you have an image. Check out our new and improved renovation with an image. And then we would close out that paragraph. Again, these images being in line like this really throw the way people read. I would consider having all of these lines with maybe the photo first in a paragraph before them and then the comments underneath. So for example, I would move this image right here and I would start with a paragraph that has that image, and then I would close the paragraph. And then for the words that go under it, I would start a paragraph with March specials, threading, $13 an area, close that out. So you have an image and then you have a paragraph right underneath it. Then same thing, I would take this image and I would put it next in a paragraph. So you have a paragraph that closes here. Inside of it is this image. And then underneath it, you have a paragraph that says, with our new and improved update look, we, maybe I did some goofy cutting and pasting. Thinking maybe that goes here. So another paragraph that says, check out our new and improved renovation. We are having secret specials, yada, 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 no purchase necessary, end paragraph. And if this is not exactly what you had in mind, feel free to fix, but do you see how I'm, rather than the image coming in line and throwing your writing off like this, we're going to do an image and then a paragraph or two, and then an image and then a paragraph or two. So if we come back here, that photo, here's a paragraph, and then we're going to have another paragraph with this image. La, 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 la. I'm just going to back that up on the same line. and back up that. And that ends your paragraph, and then this closes out your body content. So this is the stuff that changes page by page. Your header, the thing that is like your business name and address and picture, that's always the same. Your navigation is always the same. Your footer is always the same. It's the body content that changes. So then div ID equals footer, that's perfect, but you actually have nothing in it. So this paragraph right here that doesn't close really should be the stuff that's inside of your footer. Break, and then your name and a copyright 2020, end paragraph. And then I would recommend that you turn this into a live email link so it's actually hyperlinked and people can use it. And that is indeed the end of your footer div, which is great, end of the body and the end of the HTML. So the other thing that I mentioned, I'm going to go back and do it now, is these pictures. I just wouldn't have them listed in here. So I'm going to cut them out and just show you how this looks. Maybe I'm going to put them all three right after your menu. Okay, so now you have a clean 3 bullet point menu, and then you can have a paragraph with this image, and you can have a paragraph with this image, and that one already has the closing, that has a closing. Okay, if I didn't screw this up, let's see how this looks now in comparison. So here was your page as you had it, with these actually in your navigation, but not serving as hyperlinks or just an image, and then your text with a picture. If I hit refresh, okay, so we now have all of this down to your address as part of the header. This is your navigation. These are just some images, which maybe you don't even want them on this page. March specials threading, and that's the image you had with that. New and improved renovation, and then you just have this giveaway down here. And here is your footer. So when we stylize the footer, maybe you tell that to be in a black background with white text. Just these things will act that way. Footers are often a smaller text and sometimes italicized, so you might want to do that as well. And then for sure, make this an active hyperlink. So if you get this index page looking how you want it to, specifically make sure that you have a header, a navigation, a body content, and a footer. Then you can copy all of this code, and on your other pages, all you have to do is swap out this section, the body content. Your other three pieces stay the same. So I'm not going to do that on your about or contact page, but just some of those things to keep in mind. Somewhere I thought I saw where you had, I guess that makes sense now. So those are the things I would recommend you do before you move on with CSS, is clean this up, make sure your divs are all right and that all of your tags close, and fix your other two pages based on that. And then writing your CSS is going to be easy because you have a bunch of IDs ready to go, and it's going to look cool. So I hope that helps. And if you want to pop into our drop-in tomorrow, Thursday at 10 a.m. in that chat room, that'd be great. Thanks. See you later. I'm excited to put faces to names too, although I look like a raving lunatic on house arrest. So talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye. If I can get this to stop.